News First, Newsline with Faraz Shaukat Ali on TV1.
And a very good evening to you and a warm welcome to Newsline. My guest this evening is Professor Anura Wijayapala, who is the head of Department of Electrical Engineering at the University of Moratuwa. Very good evening to you, Professor Wijayapala, and thank you for agreeing to come on Newsline.
Good evening, Faraz. It's always a pleasure to be in your program.
Thank you. Now then, everybody is talking about the same subject, really, and that is this business of releasing water or not to the farmers in the areas that are served by the Samanalawewa reservoir. And this is leading to claims that there might be electrical power cuts or outages and so on. So it seems to be a battle between electricity supply and sending water to the farmers. What really is the problem, Professor Wijayapala? Would you know?
First, now time to time, this problem occurs in various river basins. Now this time it has come up in the Samanalawewa and the Udawalawa river basin. And I remember that it usually comes in Randanigala, the Randanigala reservoir and the downstream Polonnaru and so on water issuing. That comes in usually in March, April period. And also that creates similar situation. Now this time the situation is aggravated due to the fact that the southern region of Sri Lanka is loosely connected to the rest of the country. Electricity-wise, electrical network in south has not been developed to the same extent as that was developed for the rest of the country. For example, Columbus, north, even up to Vaunia, Mana, we have now 220 kV transmission lines. But entire southern region, we have only 132 kV old low-capacity transmission lines.
Right.
Therefore, over the last 15-20 years, there have been problems in maintaining power quality, especially the voltage at the far ends like Hambantota, Matara, and so on, because of this issue. And to overcome that, you need some power generation in south, which is also not there. There are no large power stations in the southern region. There were some private power plants like Ambiripitia and Matara, which have completed their term and now no longer in the system. Theoretically. But of course, time to time, government have been hiring them. That's a separate business. And if you look at the present existing power plants, last power plant in the southern direction is Samanalawewa power plant. Therefore, if this power plant is not in operation, then maintaining the system voltage and other parameters of the network is very, very difficult.
Right.
And that is why the CEB is saying, if this power plant cannot operate continuously as they want, they will have to have 3-hour power cuts to southern region until this problem is solved. That is their point. And on the other hand, from the farming community, it is a much graver problem because we understand as per the recent data that was released by the Mahawali Authority and so on, they are talking about 65,000 acres or 26,000 hectares, which have been affected, where the rice cultivation is going to be very badly affected. And there are 30,000 families depending upon these crops for their livelihood. And for this agricultural ministries have requested 27 million cubic meters of water from Samanalawewa.
Okay.
27 million cubic meters of water from Samanalawewa.
Yeah.
Which CEB says if they release, they cannot maintain the southern network and they will have to impose 3-hour power cuts.
Right.
So that is the equation now. That's the equation now. And if you look at the value of the electricity a Samanalawewa power plant is generating, so with this 27 million cubic meters of water, which if they don't release, they can generate power. And the value will be, say, generation will be about 20 million units of electricity, and the value will be maximum 2 billion rupees.
The cost.
So value-wise, it is value-wise 30 billion loss in agriculture, 2 billion power generation for CEP, value-wise.
Right.
But then the network maintenance technical point of view-wise, without this electricity generation by Samanalawa power plant, you can't maintain the southern network. So it has even economic impact which has to be estimated. And on top of this, don't forget the fact that CEB has been sleeping on this, having the bad network there. Starting from last 3-4 years, they have been constructing a major backbone line connecting the hydropower generation in Lakshapana complex, starting at Polpitiya power station, which is one of the power stations in Lakshapana complex, connecting this power plant to Hambantota grid substation. The line is 150 kilometers long and the voltage is 220 kV. The first 220 kV line from the middle of the country to the southern region, and which will solve all these issues.
So it's been 4 years in the making.
It is fully completed. It is 99% completed, about to be energized.
Why isn't it being energized?
One moment. So everything is there, 220 kV can be energized and this problem can be solved.
Right.
But the issue is there is a land portion, a length of 650 meters.
Right.
Now remember, there are 150 kilometers total length. Out of 650 meters, small, less than a kilometer distance to cross a land in Siripagama, which is the last point when you climb Siripa in the Kuruvil side, and Siripagama. And this is a estate, half tea, half bushy land state. And owners have not given their consent to CB to construct the line.
It's over private land.
It's a private land.
Right.
Private land. Owners have not agreed to let CEB cross it. So there have been discussions up and down many places at CEB, at the ministry level and so on. I think the best knowledge I have is now it's a matter of compensation amount that can be paid for this crossing. And the CEB has proposed in a way that the CEB will not have any towers or pylons in this land. They will be on either side of the land. So their transmission cables, lines will only go over this land. So therefore their soil will not be used for erecting any towers, but lines will cross it.
So basically, the only detrimental effect for the owners of the land would be aesthetic value, because they'll have some lines going over their land.
Yes, exactly. That is the only impact for them, and you know that the normal procedure for acquiring government lands is, giving compensation is, normally divisional secretary of the respective area will make an estimate as to how much is the value of the land and then ask CEB or any other government authority to pay. And the divisional secretary's estimate, as I understand, is 1.7 million rupees.
Right.
1.7 million rupees. Because when they construct this land, there have been 619 premises this line has crossed.
Right.
And for all these 619, people have given their consent and they have been compensated in a similar way. Divisional secretary estimates and CEB pays it. So it has gone, that is why 150 kilometers have been completed in that way.
So this particular 650 million, 650 meters would be, according to the CEB regulations and rules and procedures, how much would they have to pay for 650 meters?
Although the divisional secretary's estimate is 1.7 million rupees, CEB, together with the Public Utilities Commission and Ministry, and after discussing, they have agreed under their rules and regulations to pay a maximum of 9.6 million rupees.
Oh, which is several times more than the divisional secretary's estimate.
Exactly, yes. So I think that is the maximum under the present situation what they can pay.
So, Professor Wijayapala, how long has this been outstanding, this matter?
I think over 1.5 years, I would say.
So, but that's absolutely incredible waste of money and energy.
Exactly.
Is there no provision for the CEB to acquire this land if the owners are unwilling, unwilling sellers, if you like?
There is provision because 2009 Electricity Act and subsequently amended in 2013 and so on, which it has a clear provision. The minister can make a request to His Excellency the President. Then the President can declare that the which land portion or the land rights to be acquired, and then divisional secretary or the respective agencies will make the estimate, and which has to be paid by CEB to the owner. So that is clearly laid out. And I think probably the Asian Development Bank, who is funding this project, would like always to solve this issue amicably, as per their bank policies. So they look from both angles, not only from the CEB's point of view, but from the people's point of view and the owner's point of view. And so they want to solve it amicably and don't want to have force upon it. Probably that is what I understand. But you know that this entire process, that in a country, when the government has invested 10 billion rupees, the loan and the transmission line has already cost government or the CEB 10 billion rupees for the line construction and the land acquisition with a $32 million loan from ADB. And so that is substantial money. And now it is invested and no benefit comes to the country out of that. So that is a huge issue. And I think we should talk about this, and government must make appropriate rules for acquisition of this kind of land. I will tell you an example from Uganda, where some Sri Lankan companies where I have also worked are doing projects in Uganda. There are clear policies. No one can say no to land acquisition. Right. If a project, private or government project need lands, it has to be given. There's no question about not giving. But they will be amply compensated.
Is that private land and state land?
Yeah, anything must be given to projects. That is a rule. But the owners should be adequately compensated. There are again rules for that. I think in Sri Lanka also we must update these rules, and it is fully reasonable to pay a reasonable compensation for the owner.
But what is reasonable? How do you define reasonable?
Yeah, I don't know this how the government agents, the divisional secretaries and so on value this land. But I would say, in my opinion, even paying double the actual value is reasonable, because the landowners are also making a sacrifice for a national project. Therefore, no harm. We can see now it's a 10 billion project. If you pay 10 million or 20 million or 30 million, it's a small amount compared to the project size and the sacrifices the landowners make. Therefore, it is reasonable to give a good compensation. There's no question about that. But there should not be a delay for the project, and also issues like this rise, right? I have no doubt why countries like us go bankrupt, If we don't go bankrupt, only that there's a surprise. See, all actions taken now going in the wrong way. We have invested money in a transmission line and we can't use it.
On that note, Professor Wijayapala, let's go for a short break and take a peek at this evening's headline news from News First Primetime News Team. We are in conversation with Professor Anura Wijayapala, the head of the electrical department at Monash University. We'll see you on the other side break.
News First, Newsline with Faraz Shaukat Ali on TV1.
Households using less than 5 water units to get a tariff hike of 50%, while those using over 75 units get a tariff hike of 26%. Additional charge of 2.5% for consumers who fail to settle bills within 30 days. LP gas prices to be revised from Friday. Ceylon Electricity Board seeks approval for another tariff hike. India-Sri Lanka to begin talks on petroleum pipeline. Nigeria cuts power supply to Niger Republic.
News First, Newsline with Faraz Shaukat Ali on TV1.
And welcome back to Newsline. I'm in conversation with Professor Anura Wijayapala, who is at the moment the head of the Department of Electrical Engineering at Morato University. Professor Wijayapala, thank you. And we are, of course, discussing this whole issue of releasing water to the farmers and also trying to match the requirements for electricity. Honestly, Professor Wijayapala, to imagine that one group or one owner of a bit of land, 650 meters in size, less than a kilometer, and that too without any towers on site, merely flying over, overhanging their land, 650 meters off their 2-acre property. It's unbelievable. This is where the government should be stepping in. So how long now, if they decide now to acquire this land because the owners are not playing ball, how long will it take?
I think the moment the consent is given, it may take few days. It's a few days work. Maybe CEB will string the lines in 2 days. They can do it.
So at the moment, are the lines actually strung along, and is it actually now overhanging their land?
No, not yet. The towers have come to either side of their land, and the cables are up to those towers are completed.
So it's only the in between the two towers.
Between the 650 meters, the two towers are waiting, you know.
And is this land, do we know whether this land is owned by is on lease to one of these regional plantation companies, or is it purely private land?
Purely private lands. I make a correction. It's not 2-acre land. It's up some hundreds of acres land.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Large land. It's a large land.
Right.
And so I would like to look at this problem, this farmers issue from a humanitarian point of view also. Yeah. You know, this developer farming scheme, you know, this irrigation scheme has been constructed. So over the years, over the last 120 years, starting from 1900, 1960s, this has been accelerated. And, you know, so it is a over 100-year-old irrigation scheme, and the farming community, their paddy fields all have been built over the years, long time back.
Right.
Now we have put up a dam in Samanalawewa and put up this power plant in 1990s.
Right.
Recently. So and now we have collected water and saying that
they can't. Sorry. So this irrigation and farming scheme, the Wijayapala, is over 100 years old?
100 years old.
Right.
And,
carry on.
And you know that, so in between recently, 1990s, 30 years back, we have put up this Samanalawewa Dam and collected water in Samanalawewa Reservoir, blocking free water flow to their Wijayapala scheme, which was the original situation.
Right.
So I think, therefore, the farmers have a right to ask, have a priority for water, because they have constructed their farming for a long time and enjoying this.
Yeah.
So the water usage for electricity, which came later on, has a lesser priority compared to the first users.
Right.
First users. Therefore, I think the government should give more priority in solving this issue by commissioning this transmission line, so that both CEB and the Southern Power consumers, as well as this farming community, all can be saved. All can be saved. So I think the government should take the lead on that.
But also, Professor Wijayapala, we have reports that the CEB is now profitable and so on and so forth. So why can't these profits be used to pay the almost extortionate compensation that is apparently being negotiated by the owners?
Yeah, I think it is not a question of affordability. It's not a question of affordability. CB can of course pay, but as per their rules and regulations, they can't decide to pay an ad hoc, that arbitrary amount.
What about the cabinet of ministers? Why can't they act in the national interest?
That of course probably possible, yes, but that might create a bad precedent. So each time the cabinet, when somebody is refusing cabinet to interfere and pay any sum they're asking, so these are questions for long-term issues. But of course, in this as a special case, they can do it, and or else there is ample provisions in the law whereby the president can declare this land to be taken over by the CEP and the estimated amount to be paid to this party. I think this should happen immediately, because if you kill time and our crop, 30 billion crop will be wasted, 30,000 families will be wasted and will be affected. And you can see multiple questions at a time. Countries' economies having the deepest trouble in our history. No one.
And of course, not to put a finer point here, it is in instances such as this that these almost untrammeled powers of the president can come into play, because the president can act in that interest.
Exactly. But I understand at the same time there have been some interventions in the discussions by the president's office as well. But how strong they are, I don't know. But there have been some interventions by the presidential secretariat also as to how to resolve this. But still the decision has not been taken how to and how quickly this can be resolved. And I think the speed is very low, and which will be too late probably if we kill time to solve either of the problems, that is to make the transmission line up or to get the water to the people.
Whilst you were telling us all about this and bringing us up to speed, I was reminded of what the late Lee Kuan Yew did when the pilots at Singapore Airlines sort of wanted to go on strike. Prime Minister Lee Kuan Yew reminded the pilots that he would close the airline down and that he would start all over again if they were going to put Singapore into such trouble. No sooner, well, within 2 hours of Lee Kuan Yew making that now famous speech, the pilots saw the wiser side and decided to drop their claims and start reflying. I'm wondering whether President Wickremesinghe will do a similar thing and put the national interest at heart and the humanitarian interest of the farmers as well.
I wish he did it. I wish he did it.
Yes, and I think I'd also join you by saying I wish he did. And perhaps all our viewers will do the same. Perhaps, maybe you ought to write to the president, and it's all available by email nowadays, isn't it? So you can write to him and petition him and ask him to use the powers that he has to resolve this humanitarian, financial, and national crisis affecting part of the population, but having a bigger impact because obviously there's much to lose in the south with lots of tourism spots and other industries and so on. And not to mention, of course, the long and historical farming community in that area. Professor Wijayapala, what do you think? Do you think this will be solved soon?
I don't know, because these questions are, multifaceted. Now in a vicious point of view, if our crop is damaged, if the rice crop is damaged, if the banana crop is damaged, if the other crops are damaged, you can import them. Rice you can import, banana you can import, other fruit you can import, and there are people who are benefited out of these things. So in a corner, there are some forces wishing, or maybe they might not wish even. If it happens, they will be benefited. So it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate, but it should not happen. But you must not forget that there are beneficiary parties out of all these, crisis as well. So,
Indeed.
but I think the government and the president and all should be strong enough to iron out all these things and to clear the way and do in the best interest for the country.
Indeed. Thank you very much, Professor Anura Wijayapala, for your time with Newsline. That's the way it was. It's now time for the primetime news. Have a great evening as much as you can. And as always, God bless you all. Thank you.